An underrated part of this whole thing is that he said, quote, this franchise cannot afford to lose a guy like Quinn Hughes. He said this in the same session where he was explaining that it's very realistic that we're going to lose him. The Canucks had a breakup day for the ages. It was fantastic. And in it, we learned that Rick Tocchet has had his option declined, and the team has offered him a new contract that would make him the highest paid coach in Canucks history.
Yeah,
I would hope so.
Canadian dollars in the toilet.
It's now. The other people were paid back when you gave people less money.
And it's not like he's replacing a coach. It's the same guy. Obviously, you're not going to start paying him less.
Right. So really weird that was put out there. But now the Canucks don't know if they have a coach, Peter.
Yeah, I think that's going to be interesting. That's not the big story from yesterday, though. The big story from yesterday was the insane things that Jim Rutherford said at the podium when talking about Quinn Hughes, which, like, once again, I think we might be nearing the can't let Jim Rutherford near an active mic.
Might be nearing? We've already talked about this at multiple points on this show. You can't let him talk into a mic. He brings up stuff that no one asked him about, and he just goes there.
Asked about
that.
that.
I know, but like he will just volunteer things, and I don't know if he knows at the beginning when he sits down. Like by the end of this, I will have divulged that our captain possibly doesn't want to play for us.
I need to push back on the idea that we can't let him near a mic. We need this. It's good for the league.
I mean, it is electric.
And
but
the Canucks are the perfect team for it to happen to because their fans are fucking insane. I don't really care about the Canucks, so like them being messy is just pure entertainment for me. And like if it happened in a smaller city, if this happened in Buffalo, no one would really give a shit.
Do you have I can't wait to wrap up this fucking show and get to work on that quote thing. Do you have the Rutherford on Quinn Hughes? Let her rip.
I think the greatest fear for Canuck fans here is 2 years from now. Quinn Hughes can become an unrestricted free agent. How cognizant are you with the moves that you're going to be making this summer and within these next 2 years? Do you consult with Quinn? Do you let him know what the game plan is? And when do you start thinking about an extension for Quinn Hughes? Because I think that'd be one loss with this franchise. I don't know if you'd ever bounce back if he was to leave here.
Totally agree, 100%. The one thing that we will be sure of, that we will have enough cap space to offer him the kind of contract that he deserves. That's the one thing we can prepare for. And it may not boil down to money with him. You know, he said before he wants to play with his brothers. And that would be partly out of our control, in our control, if we brought his brothers here. So there's many moving parts here. Agree 100%. This franchise cannot afford to lose a guy like Quinn Hughes. And we will do everything we can to keep him here. But at the end of the day, it'll be his decision. Well, we got to be careful with tampering here, so we'll just leave it at that. I probably crossed the line, anyways.
but it
Yeah, just good to be careful after.
I better stop there. Actually, I already fucked up.
That's the time that I'm careful. is after I do the thing.
There's so much to chew on there, but like the very beginning and the very end are so fucking funny because the whole thing starts with like, hey, the biggest fear for Canucks fans is that, hey, you might lose Quinn Hughes in a couple of years. And the credit to the questioner who was like, we might be fucked.
You
and
will
Jim
never
Rutherford's
recover.
Like, oh yeah, we would be totally fucked. 100% agree with you. And then spends the next like minute talking about, well, we're probably going to be fucked because here's what's going down.
Explaining how it could happen.
But as I said,
he's like, oh, you think it would suck? Listen to what we know.
As I said, not ideal, but at least he knows what's going on. Like it would be way worse if they asked him about that and he was like, I'm not worried about it.
An underrated part of this whole thing is that he said, quote, this franchise cannot afford to lose a guy like Quinn Hughes. He said this in the same session where he was explaining that it's very realistic that we're going to lose him. So he said, like, we can't lose him. If we lose him, you are right, we're fucked, it's possible that we're going to lose him.
I would rather him. I would much rather know that he knows what's going on and understands the gravity of the situation than be like, we'll be fine.
It sucks though because, and they did mention that like we are positioning ourselves to be able to pay him whatever he wants. You go to the Red Sox with Mookie Betts, a lot of teams are afraid for it to be known that they would have paid top dollar to keep somebody and still lost. Like teams are afraid and owners are afraid of that idea being out there that we're not a destination,
which
and
is
people
so
don't want to play
dumb.
for us.
Like, I guess I can't speak for all sports, but like I would I would rather know in Buffalo that like they are doing everything they can, and if it doesn't work out, there's nothing you could do. Like I love Buffalo so much. I love that city. I understand what it is, and if people don't like it, fuck, it is what it is. But if it's because Pagula doesn't want to spend money or Kevin Adams doesn't know what he's doing, that's not acceptable.
And I think that people should. I think that people understand that we all have free will.
Yes.
That when people are free agents, if they leave, it's not necessarily an indictment on your team. It's that they chose to go somewhere.
This guy has two brothers in the league and is American.
But the thing with Buffalo is that like Buffalo has that reputation of being like, discarded or demeaned.
I'm by no means comparing
Vancouver
Buffalo
should
to
not be losing or be like feel like they are in danger of losing top guys over and over and over again.
I agree in the sense that they shouldn't, like Vancouver shouldn't be the reason. But again, you're talking about an American player who has two brothers playing on the other side of the country or the other side of the continent, and the Canadian dollar's dog share right now. And they have high taxes in Canada. Like there's plenty of reasons that aren't just I fucking hate Vancouver and this franchise that would.
But
like, even if you're paying
Buffalo fans are more willing to accept that like guys may not want to play there.
Yeah.
Vancouver fans would not be accepting of the idea that somebody didn't want to play there.
But that's because they're delusional. It doesn't change the fact that that's the reality.
Yeah, fair. I mean, that's fair. I mean, this was so unnecessary from Jim Rutherford because, I mean, we talked about earlier in the year, the JT Miller, him offering up the JT Miller and Elias Pettersson were in fact not getting along, which we already knew, of course. But like for him to go out there and say it when nobody really asked him, and it weakened their negotiating position and their leverage when it came to JT Miller trade discussions. I don't know if you need to just go out there and volunteer this information, especially when you're in a really weird place as an organization where like you didn't trade Brock Besser. You're probably going to lose Brock Besser for nothing. The JT Miller and Elias Pettersson thing that happened this year was really, really weird and threw questions about the culture there. You still don't know what's going to happen with Elias Pettersson. You could have to deal him this summer, or maybe you're going to look to deal him this summer. You really, really took a downslide from a year in which you were really, really strong last year, and now you missed the playoffs and had a tumultuous season. This is just the cherry on top of what has been like a really, really ugly and like difficult to stomach year for Canucks fans. And now you have to worry about this.
Okay, Jack Hughes has 4 more years on his deal after this. And as they said there, 2 years you could see Quinn Hughes leave. If they all do unite somewhere, where is it? Is it New Jersey?
I mean, that's the easiest option.
I think Luke's entry-level deal is up after this, but he's not going anywhere, RFA.
I feel like this is kind of like an Austin Matthews situation, like coming from like an Arizona fan perspective, where I'm not necessarily worried about him signing that. I think his next contract is going to tell you a lot, because if he signs like a 4-year or a 2-year contract, it's kind of like the LeBron thing where like all the contracts line up. If they put themselves in a situation where everything lines up,
exactly,
then I think you need to get real worried. But like as of right now, if it's going to happen anywhere, I think it happens in New Jersey, but I am not confident that it will happen.
Yeah, I agree with you that if he goes 2 years and just lines himself up with Jack, then maybe it ends up being a Paul Kariya, Teemu Selanne thing, and I'm dating myself there, but where it's like, hey, when we're both up, let's just go find a team and let's go play together. We love each other.
We all silly like the mayor.